In today's show, we're recapping all of Sunday's action in the NBA. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me, as always, on Twitter at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball, as well as a new free Substack, joshloyd48.substack.com. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com. The promo code is LOCKEDON. Thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We're free and available on all platforms. All right, let's go into it. We've done a waiver wire show earlier today. There was a Monday streaming guide show as well. So let's talk about what we need to talk about from Sunday. So, Warnie.
Let's get it on, Gilly.
All right, a little bit of news here. Since I've last spoken to you, Chris Middleton is back doing a little bit of practice. It's not ideal. We hope to be doing a little bit more. I don't expect that he's back this week, but it is possible. But Pat Connaughton is back. He's off the injury report, so he'll make his return for the Bucks tomorrow. Mike Conley, the initial report was out at least 2 weeks, and the Jazz reporters have pushed back pretty strongly against that. He is out Monday, Conley, and then from then on, he will be day-to-day, reevaluated again Tuesday. So maybe it's not that long of a term of a situation. He's avoided serious injury with his knee. I would still expect him to miss probably this week, but the initial at least 2 weeks doesn't appear to be correct. What we did get in terms of a 2-week timetable was Damian Lillard, who's going to be reevaluated in 1 to 2 weeks, which is a weird way of phrasing it. He's going to be reevaluated in 1 week or reevaluated in 2, or maybe both. It's a weird way of phrasing it. Anyway, given it is the same calf, another calf strain. It's a grade 1 calf. I'm expecting 2 weeks here for Lillard, maybe 3. Last time Shaedon Sharpe started, wasn't worth a 12-team roster spot. Justice Winslow boosted his value, was probably worth a fringe 12-team spot, but that's about it. But we just saw more stuff going to Grant, going to Hart, going to Simons, going to Nurkic. So not really a pickup there. I wouldn't add Sharpe in 12-team category leagues. I'd consider Winslow, but he's really sort of a back-end, fringy 14-team league player. I might consider Sharpe in a 14-team points league. And of course, he could just completely surprise us all and put up big numbers and be a category league guy. But he's had, 4 assists for the season? I think actually 6 assists and 4 steals for the season. Not average, total. Like, he does nothing apart from score. And his free throws are a little bit subpar, and his three-point shooting's been subpar too. So while he's impressed, the fantasy value really hasn't been there at all. For OKC, Poku's out again. I would hold Poku. Baisley's out. Mann is out. So we're going to get another opportunity to go Bronco riding.
Broncos country, let's ride.
So I think Jalen Williams is a pretty good ad. That's Jalen. That's the Bronco, Jalen Williams. Jalen, Jalen, the good one, the small one. I think he's a good ad with Poku and Baisley and Mann all sidelined. So that is a bit of a news recap. We're not going to do most added and most dropped waiver players. We're going to get straight in and smash out the first game of the day. It was an early one. It was the Knicks. It was the Suns, and it was the Suns smashing the Knicks. Good for them. 116-95, the final score. The Knicks made a change, and I will never, ever, ever understand the logic behind some coaches. Quentin Grimes started this game, but he started a while ago, played 15 minutes and his foot was sore, so then he had to sit out and came back and wasn't in the rotation. And now Cam Reddish has to sit out due to groin soreness, so a player out of the rotation in Grimes comes back in and starts and plays 32 minutes. Couldn't find a minute for him. Couldn't find a single minute for Quentin Grimes in any other game. But here he is now. 32 minutes, 10 points, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. No, I do not believe that Grimes is a must-roster or must-add 12-team league player. The 8 assists are completely out of character. I don't know if he's going to... What happens when if Reddish plays tomorrow? Does Grimes just hold the starting spot and Reddish goes back to DMPs? The same thing that happened to Grimes? I don't know. Do they play 20 minutes apiece? I don't know. And Grimes, the 8 assists, they're fluky. Like, I'm not expecting him to have 8 assists while Randall has 2 and Brunson has 3. That's not how the distribution of assists are going to go most of the time. I wouldn't expect. So while this is solid, I wouldn't overreact to it. Brunson had 27 points, 3 assists. He's been really, really good this year, the 40th ranked player, exceeding some of my expectations as well. While the center rotation got even more annoying / complicated.
And Mitch Robinson says, I'll take it from here.
Well, I mean, he didn't really take it from here, but he at least returned. He didn't start, though. Isaiah Hartenstein did. 15 minutes for Hartenstein, 7 and 3 with a steal and a block. And actually, that was the best category league game of the day of all the 3 centers, weirdly enough. I don't think you need to bother holding Hartenstein for as frustrating as it's been. Robinson played with let me rephrase on Hartenstein. Robinson played with a knee brace. They play tomorrow. I wouldn't be surprised if Mitchie Robinson does not play Monday, meaning Hartenstein and the Lionheart Jericho Sims.
You just made the list.
Play bigger minutes tomorrow, becoming stream options. Now, Sims played only 16 minutes. He had 5 and 5 with a block, and he is most likely going to be the odd man out most nights. So I wouldn't necessarily, he's not a hold. But again, if Mitchie's out tomorrow, then you can stream or keep Sims for that game, and then you can get rid of both him and Hartenstein would be my guess. As for the double royal Julius Randle, only 27 minutes in a blowout. I haven't played his song for a while. Nine, 6, and 2. Pretty piss poor, to be honest. Poor field goal shooting. Well, you're going to be shocked. Rowan Barrett was bad again. 12, 4, and 2, 27 minutes, 27 minutes, 27% shooting. 1% for every minute. It's not how percentages work, but he's bad as well. He is, over the last week, the 369th ranked player.
Giggity.
In category leagues. That is objectively terrible. He's on track for another season of maybe being outside the top 200. He's 223rd. He's just a terrible category fantasy player. Quickly played a lot of minutes, and we love that. 6 points on 17% we abhor. Didn't hit a 3, didn't get a steal. He's a stream guy, maybe a stream for tomorrow. But this team's bad. Like, Thibodeau just needs to, in fact, Tommy, what can we, not Tommy, Jack, what should we do with Tom?
Get that garbage out of here.
Yeah, he's shit house. On to the Suns. We just keep rolling with Cameron Payne, and we keep loving it. 21, 7, and 9, 2 blocks, 2 threes. Unbelievable numbers with Chris Paul out. Just keep going. Mikal Bridges, 13, 6, and 5 was good. Well, Damo Lee knocked in another 4 triples, 15 points for him. He's a great 3-point streamer while Cam Johnson is out, and this makes it 4 good games in a row for Torrey Craig. I'm not willing to say that he's going to be must roster all the way through, but this is the 60th ranked player over the last week. 14, 4, and 4, 3 assists, 2 threes, 2 blocks. That's bloody good. And it's 4 games in a row. Why not? DeAndre Ayton, okay. 13, 11, and 4, pretty good. 20% free throws on 5 attempts, dreadful. But I look at that going, okay, that's a weird night. He got to the line 5 times. That's super encouraging. He only played 27 minutes, but they didn't need anyone to play big minutes. Of course, Mikal Bridges still played 33. But they just had this one under control, so we don't need to see too much. Booker 20 and 5 with 5 triples. Solid game from him. He's the 5th ranked player over the last week. We saw this at the end of last season from Booker, that when Chris Paul is out, his numbers are able to rise pretty significantly. Today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. BetterHelp. Because life is tough. It's a minefield looking to be navigated. And sometimes the navigation's tough. We need a map. And sometimes that map is a therapist, because we have all emotional challenges, and sometimes processing those emotions, where they come from, what do we do with them, but then more importantly, how do we cope with them? We need a helping hand with that, and that's what the BetterHelp therapists are there to help you with. BetterHelp has connected over 3 million people with licensed therapists. It's convenient and it's accessible anywhere. 100% online. No more waiting rooms, no traffic, no endless searching for the right therapist, because at BetterHelp, you just fill out a brief questionnaire to match you with a therapist. And if things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist anytime. It couldn't be simpler. As the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and vetted therapists available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. So learn more and save why do I keep saying 100 there? No, save 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba. Let's go to the second game of the day. The Charlotte Hornets, they lose to the Wizards 106-102, the final score. For Charlotte, LaMelo Ball's still out. They've got a 2-game week coming up. Kelly Oubre had another big scoring night. 20 shots. It's a lot of shots for Kelly Oubre. It is a lot. And whenever I look at this roster, I go, okay, remember there's still Cody Martin, who's played 1 minute this season. I know he's still out for a while, but what happens when they're healthy? Because we haven't seen it yet. Oubre has to go to the bench, right? Because it'd be Rozier and Ball and Hayward and Washington and Plumlee. He has to go to the bench. So I think, and some of this insane usage has to stop. Now, he's had a really hot streak here, Oubre, 43rd over the last week, 112th for the season. I just don't know that I see it continuing. But, yeah, he's proven me wrong so far. Dennis Smith had an interesting game, 25 minutes, 6 points, but 2 steals, 2 blocks, and 3 assists. But, of course, it's no LaMelo Ball. And with only 2 games next week, I don't think I would bother adding Smith for the 2 games because I think after that, Ball will probably return. You can stream Smith in, but that's about it. As for Gordon Hayward, really good game. He went to the locker room with a shoulder problem, but returned. 20 points in 37 minutes, 4 assists and 3 threes. And unlike Smith, if Hayward is on your waiver wire, he's worth an add and a hold through a 2-game week. Because I think as long as he's healthy, there's enough value here. PJ had 13 and 5, while the cockroach Mason Plumlee played 31 minutes, 9 and 8 with 4 assists and a block. Not his best night, 25% from the field's pretty bad, but the minutes are encouraging. While Big Dick Nick had an 11 and 10 double-double in 17 minutes, I would not add Nick Richards in 12-team leagues, but he played well. The big story is going to be Terry Rozier because people they're just hating on him. 8, 7, and 5. Okay, now I know that I've said in the past, and last season in particular, hey, I can't believe Terry Rozier is now this 50% 2-point guy after being so bad in Charlotte and Boston early in his career. But he did it consistently for 2 years. Now, this is just astonishingly bad shooting. He's under, I think, 37% for the season. But he's still averaging 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. His steal rate is cut in half from last season, and he's shooting nowhere near the same. He is an absolutely gigantic buy low. And he's 139th ranked player. There's no denying that hasn't been good because the percentages are dropping him way down. In a points league, and that's how you can really get the differentiation here. Is it counting stats and usage and minutes opportunity, or is it percentages that's hurting? If you're 139th in a category league and you're 51st in a points league, then you can be bloody sure that it's efficiency that's hurting you. And that's where we are with Rozier, and we expect a big jump up in his efficiency numbers as well as his steals. So it's a gigantic buy low opportunity for Terry Rozier, in my opinion. 8, 7, and 5. You throw any top 80 player at Rozier, I would do that every day of the week. I don't know if anyone's going to buy it, but people are annoyed. People are annoyed because they look at overall ranking and they go, oh, man, 139, that's not even a 10-team league guy, which is clearly false because he is. But we are expecting some big bounce backs in his shooting numbers. Or I am anyway. I don't know if you are. On to the Wizards. Monte Morris was out. They didn't start Jordy Goodwin. They started Brad Beal at point guard and pushed Corey Kispert into the starting lineup. Beal, 41 minutes, 26, 4, and 5 with 5 steals. Don't really get that from Beal too often, do you? But late in the game, in like the last 30 seconds, he copped a knee in the thigh and had to leave the game and wasn't in for the closing minutes. He'll get reevaluated probably tomorrow, and then we'll get an update as to whether he misses time. Kispert was the one who started for Morris, 31 minutes, 12 and 13. Sorry, that's Avdia. 32 minutes, 14, 6, and 3 with 2 triples for Kispert. If Morris is going to miss or Beal's going to miss, Kispert's a streaming option, probably more suited to 14-teamers. Kuzma, his assist rate's really up at the moment. 38 minutes, 28 and 10, 5 assists and 4 triples. But the other thing we need to look at in this game is Rui Hachimura was out, so there's extra minutes for the forwards. A good double-double from Avdia, 12 and 13 with a block. A 14-team league guy, I think, with 12-team stream ability. While Porzingis had 12 and 8, he had 5 blocks, but he shot, like Terry Rozier, a horrendous 21%. This could have been an absolute ball burster from Porzingis, who is the 27th ranked player this season. And so far, fingers crossed, is paying off. We are able to draft him in the 40s or 50s in drafts. It's really, really starting to pay off for that investment. Back on Jordan Goodwin, he played 24 off the bench, only 5 points, but he's this weird player, like 3 blocks. He's just always contributing something. He's probably not a 12-team league guy, but he's at least useful to take a flyer on days where someone's out, like with Beal or Morris or Hachimura even, just to get some extra minutes in there. As for Morris, I know he missed this game, but yeah, he still remains to me a 12-team league drop. Let's go to the next game. The Pistons lose to the Kings, 137-129. Marvin Bagley started at center, and he baglied. He played 21 minutes because he got into foul trouble. He had 15 and 6, which is what he does. He can score. He got some boards, but no assists, of course, no threes. He had a steal and a block, and he hit all his free throws. So probably actually a better game than usual. I still have no interest in Marvin Bagley in the 12-team category league. I just don't. Jaden Ivey, is this a revenge game because the Kings didn't pick him at 4? 24, 4 and 3. Oh, but they couldn't have picked him, Josh, because they drafted De'Aaron Fox. Okay. 24, 4 and 3 with 4 triples. Really good game. He's going to be inefficient, of course, as a rookie, but this was an efficient game. While Bogdanovic had 21 points and 2 triples, red-hot shootings like so many players on this team. Alec Burks and Killian Hayes, the 2 Cade Cunningham replacements. 29 minutes for Hayes, 9 points, 2 threes, 6 assists. That's good enough for me for a 12-team league. Alec Burks didn't play as many minutes, but...
Alec Berg.
25 minutes, 16, 3 and 1 with a 1-1 on 31% shooting. Could have been a monster. Both of these guys have 12-team appeal in the short term with Cunningham on the sideline. Jalen Duren. I thought he was better than Bagley. What a shock that is. 12 and 8 in 27 minutes. Big minutes again because Bagley cannot keep his ass out of foul trouble. Duren is a 12-team option. I'm not sure it's going to stick. With Sadiq Bey out, Isaiah Livers started, and let's be fair, he was really bad. When you're outplayed by Kevin Knox, it's a bad night. 5 points in 16 minutes for Livers. He has not taken advantage of any opportunity this season, really. Well, Knox was actually all right. 11 and 5 with 3 triples, but I honestly, I couldn't care less about adding him. Just not at all. No way. For the Kings, De'Aaron Fox, massive. 36 minutes, 33, 4 and 7. The sell high is massively open. He started this game shooting 8 of 10, cooled off a bit in the second half, was perfect 9 of 9 from the line. And I will happily admit that his free throws look improved. His shot selection is better, and his 3-point shooting percentage, I expect it all to get better or to be better, right? No question about that. But he is the 12th ranked player this season because his shooting is insane. His 2-point shooting is insane. Even if it drops 5 to 6 percentage points, which I expect that it does, that doesn't mean that he's a bust. It means he goes from being a first-round player or a first-round adjacent player being a mid-second to late third-round player. Well, not mid-second. Mid-third to late third-round player. When I've got him like 28th overall. So if I can get a top 15 player back in a trade for Fox, I'd do it because I assure you the shooting numbers will regress. Will they regress to last season? I got no idea, and it doesn't even matter if they do. They don't even have to go down that far for him to fall away in value. But the sell-high window is propped gigantically open, and I would try to do it. That's just looking at numbers and history. And not even his own history, just the history of the NBA in general, he's not going to keep this up. Sabonis, 15, 13, and 7. That's a very Sabonis line. He took 5 shots, but still got those numbers. While the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. 27 and 9. I hate to say it, guys, but maybe Barnesy's an ad. I don't like saying it. I'm not excited by it, but his recent form suggests yes. Kevin Huerter had 24, 5 and 5 with 4 triples. Pretty strong game there. He's a 12-team. While Monk got ejected. Not the greatest night there. 8 points, 3 assists, and 2 steals. I think he's a hold. I dropped him in one league, but I think he's a hold in a few others. While Keegan Murray, my concerns on him are, I think, being founded. Really lost as not a 1 or 2 offensive option. Shots aren't going in at the level that we did at college. The defensive stats are nowhere near the level in college. And he's not rebounding the ball either. 13, 2 and 1, 40% shooting. Rookies usually are pretty bad. And rookies who dominate in summer league, context is gigantically important. That context I thought was pretty obvious with Murray, but he's been even worse than I expected. I think he will be better than this. I think his back is still bothering him, and I don't hate holding him. But if I'm in a shallow league, a 10-team league, I'd jack him straight off. Like, I wouldn't bother in a 10-team league, to be honest.
Get that garbage out of here!
I also started with a much lower base on Murray. I didn't love him as a prospect. I think I had him 6th or 7th in the draft. I didn't love him as, I thought he was fine as a fantasy guy, but around 100. You're not around 60 or 70. So I'm lower all there. So I want to go, he can get better, but I didn't have that high ceiling already factored in with what he can do. So again, use that and understand my opinion there. How about Terrence Davis, where people added him? Well, he played 3 minutes for 3 points. One of the biggest ever examples of chasing value that I've ever seen. And I wasn't going to say that it was necessarily the wrong thing, but so many people grabbed it without thinking about why it happened. And that is something that you do need to do when you're playing fantasy. Why did it happen, and can that why happen again? Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy, but not the way that you know it. You don't have to deal with a salary cap. You don't have to deal with playing against other people. It's you versus projections. That's it. You might look at Harrison Barnes and look at his point total and go 14.5, probably under. You might look at Keegan Murray's rebound total of 5.5 and go definitely under. And you can do up to 6 of those individual player projections, put them into one entry, and you can win 25 times your money. It's available in 30 US states and in Canada, but it's not just the NBA. You can throw NFL in there. You can throw NHL in there. You can throw the FIFA World Cup in there. You can throw men's and women's college basketball, college football, boxing, MMA, golf, NASCAR, esports, so many things. If you're wanting to have a dabble at disc golf, you can do that as well, amazingly. Get the goats of disc golf into your lineup. What do they even measure it? What are the stats in disc golf? Is it what? Greens in regulation? Total strokes? That's what she said. Like, I don't know. But whatever it is, you can do it on PrizePicks. Download the PrizePicks app or go to PrizePicks.com to sign up and play daily fantasy sports. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. If you deposit 100, PrizePicks will give you 100. If you deposit 50, PrizePicks will give you $50. Don't forget to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up for an instant deposit match up to $100. As per usual, we're going really slow. The Warriors and the Rockets. The Warriors were up big. The Rockets came back, and the Warriors pull out the victory in the end, 127-120. Klay Thompson has been bad this season, and he went crazy here. I think he had 20 points in the first quarter. He ended up with 41 points with 10 triples, 2 steals, and shot 61% from the field. Now, that's a gigantic usage of 33. And the realistic situation here with Klay is he's not this good. He's also probably not quite as bad, but I also don't think he's got any chance of returning to peak Klay Thompson. This was great. This was encouragement if you held on. But also understand that this is not real. Steph Curry also, he started this game poorly and ended up with just a stupid line. 33, 6, and 15, 3 steals, 2 blocks, 7 triples. Like that's amazing. Like, it's a ridiculously good line. Andy Wiggins had 22 with 6 triples and 2 steals. It does help when you play the Rockets, let's be fair, and their defense. But some good numbers there. But Jordan Poole couldn't take advantage of the Rockets' defense because he's just really bad when he's on the bench, I guess. 10 points in 25 minutes. 4 assists and a block. We can't really drop him. He's going to start tomorrow, I'm guessing, because Klay will be out. But it's just frustrating to deal with this. Looney remains a streamer, 7 rebounds, 5 assists in his 29 minutes, while the bench continues to be a disaster. Anthony Lamb sucked. Kuminga sucked. I thought Moody played okay and deserves more minutes. JaMychal Green is back in the rotation. But every one of these guys is terrible. They just can't do anything off the bench, and it's a real problem for the Rockets. Not for the Rockets, for the Warriors. They're lucky they played the Rockets is what I meant to say. Let's look at the actual Rockets, because cousin Kevin Porter, it had been a little bit of a rough go of things, but 30 points, 5 triples, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 53% from the field, 5 of 6 on the line. Yes, great. Big turnaround. Love it. He's the 60th ranked player this season, 40th in points leagues. Jabari Smith Jr., this is it, boys. It's happening, girls. 22 points, 7 rebounds, 3 triples, and he shot over 40%. He in fact shot 57%. Now, unfortunately, he didn't bring us any blocks, but we knew at some point it was going to turn. If he was dropped, I would add him. Unlike Murray, I had high hopes for Smith. Good minutes, solid enough usage, great 3-point shooting, good block numbers, good rebound numbers. I thought all that could translate, and the shooting just has not. I think we're going to end up with him as a top 100 player this season. Jalen Green struggled, 16 points, but he still had 4 assists and he added 2 steals. Shot 27% though, while KJ Martin, really good energy from him, 12 and 4, but he's not a 12-teamer. While it was a disappointing night from the delicate dancer Alperen Şengün.
It's a delicate dance in just 17 steps.
Happens a lot against the Warriors with centers, but he really struggled. 4 and 7, while Garuba had 3 points and 2 steals. But let's talk Tari preseason. Because when he came in, along with KJ Martin, he turned the game. Not that they ended up winning, but he turned the game. Now, I know Steven Silas is a dumb shit at times in terms of rotations, but surely at some point, we've got to go, like, what's Eric Gordon doing for us? KJ Martin, sure, but, like, Eason's the guy. 19 and 8 with 3 steals in 23 minutes. The 3 steals are great for fantasy. The 19 points is great. I don't expect 27 usage or 57% shooting, but he turned the game around. He's a factor on every play, basically. And there is going to be a luxury hold nature to this, and it might not hit until January. It just might not, because this guy makes poor decisions a lot. But Eason was literally undeniable in this game, and he was so impressive, and the numbers backed it up. Still only played 23 minutes, which is troubling, but I don't mind him as an ad to see where it goes, because there's definitely something there with him. I don't think that's really all that debatable. The Heat And the Cavs, I don't know how much to take away from this one. 113 Cleveland, 87 Miami. Miami was without Butler, Hero, Vincent Oladipo, and then Duncan Robinson got hurt. At least Bam did return, but 27 minutes, 21 and 6. Caleb Martin's a good stream for tomorrow, 17 points in 35 minutes. And Little Chunga started again, Nikola Jovic, 32 minutes, 7, 4, and 5 with a steal. I don't think that Jovic is much more than a desperation stream for 12-team leagues. It was a rough game for Kyle Lowry.
Double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
9 points on 20% shooting is obviously woeful. 4 rebounds, 3 assists. He'd been red hot, so I'm not going to care too much about this, but just a bad game. Well, Max Strus also was bad. 8 points, 33%, no rebounds. He did get a steal, but you know what we've said about Strus. Without decent big minutes, 34 minutes, without the shots going in, there's nothing he does. And I do think that when Butler and Hero and Vincent and eventually Oladipo returns, Strus will not be a 12-team league player. And we got some glimpses into that today of how there can be struggles. He's not a top 100 guy this season. He's not a top 120 guy this season. Because there are a lot of limitations in his overall game. Haywood Highsmith is just... what's the opposite of red hot? Ice cold. Yeah, that's it. 0 points in 29 minutes. Big minutes the last 2 games. I thought that he was a chance to get some rotation minutes. The last 2 games have suggested to me that, yeah, he is a long way off that. For the Cavs, Garland, 25, 2 and 7. He's rolling. Over the last week, he's ranked 6th. Mitchell's ranked 54th. In the preseason, we expected them both to be healthy, and I thought Garland would be a little bit better than Mitchell this season. Obviously, over the course of the year, it hasn't been the case. But we're seeing Mitchell's assists and overall value dropping a little bit here. 13, 3, and 5 for Don with 2 steals. It's not a bad game at all, but we are seeing a little bit of that more even distribution between him and Garlo. Thought Mobley was good, 15, 10, and 5, while with the absence of Kevin Love, the absence of Dean Wade, and then the injury to Dracaris LeVert, we saw Chetty Osman play 37, 20 and 12, 4 triples, a steal, and a block. That's cool. It's exciting. That's great, but I also don't really care that much. Now, they do play... No, they don't play... Oh, no, they do play tomorrow. They've got a back-to-back tomorrow. So... Or do they? Am I imagining that? No, I think they do. Yeah, they do play tomorrow. So if we do have LeVert out and Love out and Wade out, then yeah, maybe we do stream Osman. That'd be where we go. I'd probably go with him over Lamar Stevens, who had 11 points in 22, although he could be an option. But then in this one, we had Isaac Okoro come from nowhere to have 13 points in 29. Now, I definitely know I'm not trusting Isaac Okoro, but his extra minutes and his good scoring limited what Lamar Stevens could do. And when you get limited by Isaac Okoro, you're not that high in the coach's thought process. Jarrett Allen didn't do much, didn't need to do much. It was a pretty easy victory. I said we were going to not care too much about that game, and then I talked about it for probably way too long. Let's talk about the next one, the Grizzlies and the Nets. The Grizzlies obviously undermanned. They lose 127-115. No Ja Morant, no Desmond Bane, of course, and no Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. So I think we have to consider Lil John Concha a 12-team league guy. Yeah! 16, 9, and 7. 2 steals, 2 triples. Okay! 6 of 6 from the line, but only 36 from the field. He's a top 50 player over the last week. 12-team, go. Tyus Jones, must add, 13, 3, and 6, go. Dylan Brooks, oh, man. 31 points, sexy one. What up, mate? 30 shots. 30. I can't with this guy. I can't. He is probably a 12-team league ad while these guys are out. But, like, actually RIP in pieces your percentages. It's going to be so bad. Oh, Jesus. At least he had 4 steals. I am not at all convinced David Roddy's an NBA player. I thought he looked lost most of the time he was out there. While, is this because Jaren Jackson was out? Or is it because Steven Adams played better? But we only got 17 minutes of Brandon Clark, 2 points. I do not believe that Brandon Clark is a 12-team league guy. While Adams had 15 and 10 in 29 minutes, and Aldama had 8 points in 21. You can jack Santi Aldama really easily.
Get that garbage out of here!
For the Nets, where should we start? Should we start with Ben Simmons? Yeah, 35 minutes, and he started. I did expect him to start. I didn't think it would be necessarily at center with Claxton out. 22, 8, and 5 with a steal, 85% shooting. He missed his only free throw, but you know what? Unbelievable. He looked great. He looked fast. He looked lithe. He looked aggressive. And I know he didn't take tons of shots, but he took 13 of them, which is second most on the team. But he was like, Kyrie would be dribbling the ball up, and he's like, Kyrie, give it to me. And then he'd give it, set a screen, set guys up in the corner. It was working brilliantly. I was really excited to see that. Now, their next game is against the Sixers in Philly. What a wild game that's going to be. But Simmons turned it on here. This is why we thought he might be a steal in the 70s or 80s. He looked dreadful up until this game, but despite looking dreadful, he's ranked 116th in category leagues. He's 111th in points leagues. He's a must-roster player. Durant had 26, 7, and 7, while the Basmati man, another 8 assists for Royce O'Neal. I don't know what the hell's going on now. His usage was back to usual levels, under 10. He had 12 points on 67%. I do believe he's going to drop off. But if he keeps dropping in 67% shooting nights with 8 assists, then you're just loving it. It just feels completely unrealistic to expect that. Kyrie returned, played only 26 minutes, 14 and 5, 42%. He was a bit rusty. He'll be better for the run. Well, how about the big fella, Yuta Watanabe? How good is he? I think he's the third highest three-point percentage in the entire NBA. 16 points, 4 triples, another 67% shooting night. He's going to regress. Even his 2-point percentage is absolutely out the arse. It's so high. There's a lot going to fall away, but he looks great out there. That's a nice, at least 16, probably maybe even 14-team league short-termer, but probably more 16-team league guy. Smokin' Joe had 13 points with 4 triples in 28, while Seth had 10 in 25. And I do think that Royce and Seth and Joe, O'Neal, Harris, Curry, will all become 12-team fringe guys because they'll just eat into each other's playing time too much. Cam Thomas had 1 rebound in 4 minutes. Obviously you can jack him off.
Get that garbage out of here!
But next game, Claxton returns. So what happens? Does Claxton start and Harris goes to the bench? Does Simmons move back to the bench? I highly doubt it after this performance. I don't think O'Neal moves to the bench, but then you're not left with tons of shooting. It's a really interesting decision that Jacques Vaughn has to make. And I would move O'Neal to the bench. I don't think you want Simmons, Claxton, and O'Neal out there. You'd want another shooter, but maybe it is Claxton that stays on the bench. And if it is, and Simmons is the starting center and playing 35 minutes, well, Claxton's done as a 12-team league guy if that's the case. We really want to watch that. We have to watch. It's going to be a must-watch game anyway, but we really want to watch that from a fantasy perspective to see what the hell is going to happen with that rotation when those guys come back. It's going to be very intriguing. Very. The next game, really, really disappointing for the Mavericks. Is Jason Kidd maybe a bad coach? Maybe this happened, I think, his first year, maybe in Milwaukee, first year in Brooklyn, where he was quite good. And then everything turned to shit. Maybe he's not very good. I don't know. But this is a terrible loss. The Nuggets 98, the Mavericks 97. The Nuggets were without Jokic, Murray, and Gordon. They also lost Jeff Green after 5 minutes. So the big stiffy Bones Highland rocked him. 29 points in 35 minutes, 6 assists, a steal, and a block. He had a usage of 33%. There's just so much unrealistic about Bones being able to do that. Minutes, usage, assist rate, none of that's going to stick. But he's at least a 12-team league guy to see what the hell happens. DeAndre Jordan, well, we're obviously not caring too much there, but I can't argue with 17 rebounds. That's useful enough. It's a good stream option, but that's it. While the Shark, Bruce Brown, continues to be good. Top 50 after the last week, 12, 4, and 8. Steal on a block. Whenever someone's out, he plays well. I tell you who's not playing well. Maga Porter Jr. 31 minutes, 14 and 5, 2 steals and a block. It's not dreadful, but he's just lost a little bit from the start. He still hit 55% of his shots. He unfortunately went 1 of 4 from the line, but he just looked a little bit off and only played 31 minutes. That's the worrying sign to me. Everyone else minutes is way up. His couldn't. That's a worry. KCP just the 9 points on 18%. I think you still hold him in 12s, but I don't imagine he maintains must-roster 12-team status all season. Zeke Naji started the second half with Jeff Green out. He didn't really do much there. 5 points in his 16 minutes. Unfortunately, he's just not getting a big enough role. For the Mavericks, it's really hard to compete when both Dorian Finney-Smith and Reggie Bullock are starting and giving you nothing on a nightly basis. Both guys scored 3 points and both guys shot 20%, and you shouldn't have any of them in 12 or 14-team leagues. Maybe Finney-Smith in 14, sorry. Timmy Hardaway had been playing well, and then he did whatever this is. 2 points on 0% shooting in 21 minutes. But at least they got a good performance out of Josh Green. 30 minutes, 23 points, 6 dribbles. Nothing else. He's been an interesting source of steals. This is a good game, but of course, it's 89% shooting. He's 6 of 7 from 3. It's no way. There's no chance it sticks. But it's a good game. But the guys ahead of him, Bullock and Finney-Smith, are they doing anything to light the world on fire? Absolutely not. So maybe extra minutes come. Spencer Dinwiddie played 30 minutes. He dislocated his shoulder towards the end, but he popped it back in and said he's fine. I have my doubts, but we watched that. 11, 1, and 8. He was on the Sell High show at one point saying he's not going to stick these levels. And yeah, that's going to work out pretty well in my favor. I reckon that one. He's fallen way off, 139th over the last week. Still holding him, of course. Well, Christian Wood only played 17 minutes. Why? Well, you think you get more than that because Maxi Kleber was out. Was it because JaVale McGee played? Well, he played 11 minutes. Dwight Powell played 20. But Davis Bertans from the crypt, 14 minutes, 15 points with 4 threes. That is shocking from Wood to only do what he did. Took 3 shots, 11 usage. His value has been wild this season. Sky high to begin the year when he was getting like 35 usage on about 1,000,000% true shooting. Then did nothing, then got hurt. He's all over the shop. We still hold him, but holy shit. Like, Jason Kidd does not like him. Does not. Will not let him play through anything. Will be quick to drag him at any stage. He does not like him. And I know that, your House of Highlights and your Baller's Life are going to look at him and go, man, he's such a baller. Yeah, I've had people tell me, man, what's Kidd doing? This guy's a fringe all-star. What are you talking about? Like, fringe all-star in what universe? He is not that good. He can put up numbers that look sexy because they're in double digits, points and rebounds, but he is not that good. And he's really showing at this. Now, I do think he should be used more than he is with here, and the Kid's making some questionable calls. But also, I'm going to back Kid, amazingly. I'm going to back Kid with some of the stuff because defensively, he's actually putrid. And he causes a lot of problems. And this team is fairly poorly constructed, I would say. And about time Nico Harrison gets a little bit of criticism, I think. And now we do the last game of the night. And honestly, it was such an ass-kicking. There's hardly anything to take away from it. The Lakers 123, the Spurs 92. We knew the Spurs in a 5-game week would periodically sit people, and today it was Jakob Poeltl. Yeah, Collins was out, Wesley was out, Langford was out, we knew that. Poeltl was out, but they didn't start Goldfinger Charlie Bassey. They in fact started Gorgie Jeng, who had 7, 7, and 3. Now, Bassey was still okay. 21 minutes, 8 and 8, 5 assists and a steal. That's really useful. But now you drop him. In fact, you don't just drop him, you jack him off.
Get that garbage out of here!
Thanks for the 5-game week. It wasn't as good as we expected, but I'll see you later. Jeremy Sohan.
Zohan now!
12 and 6, 3 steals, 26 minutes. He's solid. He's a good streamer. You don't have to hold him in 12 teams. He's more of a 14-team league guy. Vassell was able to be okay, 17, 4 and 4, but the horse, Keldon Johnson.
Whose horse is that?
That's really bad. 12, 3 and 1, 20% shooting on 20 attempts, and 3 of 5 from the line. Disgusting. He's outside the top 170 over the last week because percentages have really cratered. He's now down to outside the top 70 over the course of the season. Vassell is higher than him. I do think Vassell remains high because he's got an ability to be more efficient and more evenly contributing across the board. Keldon is still obviously really useful, but we're seeing some of the limitations in his game. I believe Vassell is a future star / all-star level player. I don't think that for Keldon. Still obviously going to be better than this, so maybe it's a little bit of a buy low, but we've got to re-establish expectations. Trey Jones, 10, 2 and 4. It's all right. It's nothing super. But again, this game is just such a weird one. Keita Bates-Diop had been playing big minutes. He had 4 points in 16. So yeah, you can drop him if you had him. I tell you who's playing well though, Anthony Davis. 30 and 18, 3 steals and a block. It's good. Like, what more do I need to say? He's killing it. 63% shooting. Top 3 ranked player over the last week. In fact, he might actually be number 1. Top 6 player over the year in fantasy points. He's averaging over 50 fantasy points. The question's always going to be, all right, what do we do now? There is going to be a regression. He's really stepped it up with LeBron out, and with LeBron back, or when LeBron's back, stuff is going to reduce for Davis. But there's always the ever-looming injury. But the problem is that you know that, I know that, but so does everybody else. So if you try and trade him for a top 5 player, no one's going to do it. So if you trade him, while it's theoretically a sell high, it's like a sell low. Because someone will give you like the 20th best player. And maybe that's good, because if Davis isn't playing, you're getting zeros. But there's nothing to say that he gets hurt. He has played 70-plus games multiple times in his career. He is not a guy that is hurt as much as what the media or people will make you believe. The last couple of years have been rough, but he's played 70-plus multiple times. Multiple times. So maybe he just plays through it. Maybe he's fine. It's possible. Austin Reeves scored 21 in 27 minutes. Really good from him the last 2 games. He's at least a streamer, but LeBron will hurt that impact. The 2 returners, Dennis Schroeder, 23 minutes, 13, 2 and 2. It's okay. I actually don't think he's got 30 minutes in him this season, but I don't mind if you want to hold him. I don't think it'll work out, but I don't mind it. And then the tank, 23 minutes for Tom Bryant. He did get a bit of garbage time here, 15 and 9 and 100% shooting. Played, obviously Davis only played 28. A little bit of crossover, but not much. I don't think that Bryant's a must-grab player. I think he's a 14-team league guy, and that's probably where Schroeder sits as well. Lonnie Walker, my issue with him in category leagues, it's the emptiness. 14, 1 and 2. He shot okay, but didn't get to the line. No steals, no blocks, and 1 rebound. He's fine as a back-end player. He's fine on the back end of your roster, but someone is going to lose out if Schroeder pushes up. Yes, Patrick Beverley probably will. He only played 20 minutes. Troy Brown only played 23. But Walker's in a bit of a precarious position, I think, for 12-team leagues, in that he's okay. But again, if you honestly appraise your roster, is he your second worst guy, or is he your worst guy? And if someone's your worst player, they are definitely droppable. But you've got to be able to make that assessment of your roster overall. I'll tell you what I didn't mention. I talked about Michael Porter before with the Nuggets and Mavs game. I didn't mention that Porter did look a bit iffy, but he did hit the game-winning, the go-ahead shot there at the end. So a little bit better. I don't even know that I mentioned Luka's game. He had 22, 9 and 8. I don't know why that just came to my head now. I was too busy talking about Christian Wood and bloody Tim Hardaway. Let's look at the lines of the night. Your monstrous does go to Stephen Curry of the Golden State Warriors. The waiver wire line of the night goes to Chetty Osman, the Discman City Osman. The young gun is the big stiffy Bones Highland, and the dud, of course, is Keldon Johnson with that putrid performance. Top 10 players in category leagues. Number 1 was Steph, followed by Anthony Davis, Klay Thompson, Kevin Porter Jr., De'Aaron Fox. Didn't get to do the Fox sound today. I should have. I just forgot it. I'll do it now. Durant at 6, Campaign at 7, Bones Highland at 8, Harrison Barnes at 9, and Kyle Kuzma at 10. Your top 10 players rostered in under 50%. Osman at 1. Just watch to see the status of Love and Levert. Maybe he's a streamer. Johnny Concha, Lil John Concha. I think he's a 12-team ad. Tari, regular season. He looked great today. It's a bit of a stash, bit of a risky one. Don't mind it. Damian Lee, 3-point streamer. Corey Kispert, if Beal is hurt, you can stream him for 3s at least. Joshy Green, that's a watch list guy. Austin Reeves, playing well. I think that's LeBron absence is impacting him. DeAndre Jordan, stream for rebounds if Jokic is out. Yuta Watanabe, just shooting the lights out. I doubt it sticks at that level, and he's just a deeper league guy. And then Smokin' Joe Harris is like a 14-team league player. The points league top 10 for today. We've got Steph, Davis, Dylan Brooksy Brooks, Klay Thompson, Kevin Porter, Bradley Beal, Cameron Payne, Kevin Durant, Bones Highland, and De'Aaron Fox. And that, guys, will do it for me today. Don't forget to follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and on Odyssey. And on YouTube, thumb it up. Leave the comments down below, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.